Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we will be covering Karl Marx. Yesterday we have covered a milder kind. So our approach will be the same. First we will see the background, then his studies. So let us start. He regarded himself as a revolutionary scholar, okay, because he wanted to alter the existing unjust order of the society. Okay, he he didn't present his ideas not in much very organized manner. Okay, the basic topics which we have to cover are like historical materialism, modes of production, alienation, and class struggle. Okay. So historical materialism provides the basic assumption of Karl Marx, and that is his methodology and perspective. Mode of production shows the Karl Marx perspective on how society is organized, and this alienation tries to highlight the dehumanizing consequences of capitalism, and class structure struggle is the application of historical materialism. Okay, so he was born in 1818 in Germany. Okay, his father was a lawyer and he's from a Jewish family. So, as he was Jewish, so he has to face a lot of discrimination. So, his father converted into Protestant. Okay, and he was very good student in school. Okay, he was a very good student. So at the age of 17, his father sent him to the University of Bonn to study the law, but he wasn't interested. So at the age of 18, he went to the University of Berlin, and he pursued philosophy there at the University of Berlin. So when he arrived in Berlin, Hegel died just 5 years back. Okay, and his thoughts were very dominating in the Berlin's academic circle. So he joined his club, Young Hegelian. Okay. Then in 1842, he completed his uh, uh, doctorate dissertation, but he wasn't allowed to submit it because he was associated with the Doctors Club, or sorry, Hegelians Club, Young Hegelians. Okay, and he thought of teaching there, but Berlin government blacklisted him. So he decided to become a journalist. Okay. So and joined a newspaper, write letters which were very critical of the German authority. And there he met Friedrich Engels. Okay, during his journalism days. He was son of an industrialist. Okay. He was the son of an industrialist, and he had the very first-hand experience of exploitation of working class in his father's industry. Okay. So in 1843, German authority banned the newspaper and Marx is exiled from the Germany and he went to Paris. Okay. In Paris also he started a journal equally critical of both German and France. Okay, then German authorities asked French to throw him out. Okay. Then he left for Belgium in 1845. His father died, he inherited property and he used that money to buy guns for the revolution. So at the end he was penniless. Okay. And he also started taking part in working class politics. Okay, and so he was asked to draft a manifest for the working class. So in 1848, his first major work, the Communist Manifesto, came in the picture. Okay, and he rushed to Germany and he started a newspaper which was totally communist in nature. So again the government of Germany will exile him. Okay, and then he traveled to London and London became his place of residence for the rest of his life. Okay. All his radical ideas didn't have much impact on English authorities, so it was a very peaceful atmosphere for him. So in London also he was very active in working class politics and he started getting recognition. In 1867, his first volume of his work, Das Kapital, was published. It was very popular in Russia and Germany, but not in England. Okay, and while he was working on the second and third volume of Das Kapital in 1883, he died. Okay, it is said that volume 3 is completed by angels. Okay, now we will study alienation. Okay, first we will start with alienation. As I told you before, that these notes should be your final notes, and you shouldn't refer anywhere else because these are very concise notes and these are very short and easy to revise, and everything which is relevant is given in these notes. Okay, so let us start alienation. So, what is alienation? Alienation is a social psychological condition. It's a very important keyword again. It is a social psychological condition in which man became estranged to himself. Okay, he is not able to identify his true character. Okay, now according to Hegel, alienation is inherent in nature in all spiritual creation. Okay, so he Marx rejected his view and he said, no, alienation is man-made. Okay, people create their own society, but will remain alienated until they recognize themselves within their own creation. Okay, so he Marx talked about alienation in various aspects. Okay, so just like this, alienation in religion, alienation in capitalism. So let us see this alienation in religion. So really, according to Marx, religion provides an example of human alienation. In Marx's view, man makes religion, religion does not make man. Okay. However, members of society fail to recognize that religion is of their own making. They assign to the god an independent power, a power to direct their actions and shape their destiny. The more people invest in religion, okay, the more they lose themselves. Okay. So what were his views on alienation and capitalism? He said alienation reaches its highest in capitalist society where labor is dominated by requirements of capital, demand for profit, okay, and workers will see them as prisoners of market forces over which they have no control. Okay, so they're subject to impersonal mechanisms of law of demand and supply. Okay, so the workers will lose the control over the objects they produce and they become alienated from the product and the act of production. Therefore, more the worker produce and more they lose themselves. So in Marx words, if we say this, greater is the greater this product, the less he himself. Okay. So in Marx's view, uh, market forces that are seen to control production are not impersonal mechanisms beyond the control of humanity. They are human-made. So alienation is therefore the result of human activity rather than external forces, with an existence independent of humanity. Okay. So alienation So, if we have to say it in more concise form, so alienation therefore springs not from impersonal market forces, but from the relationships. Okay, alienation will come to an end when the contradiction between the human consciousness and the objective reality is resolved, as per Marx. Okay, this. So, Marx considered four dimensions of alienation in capitalism. Okay, so alienation from the process of production. Okay, so product is defined, production is defined, fixed, and workers can't change it. Okay, Marx said this. Fixed workers can't change it. Okay, matlab, production is fixed and workers can't change it, so they feel alienation from the process of production. Okay. Then he talked about alienation from the product. Product being belong to the capitalist, but not to the one who produce it. Okay. So workers don't have any control over the quantity, quality, or the nature of the product they produce. So that's why they also feel alienation from the product because there is no connection between the product and the them. Then alienation from the fellow workers. So as work is compartmentalized, no time to interact with each other. Okay. So communal or social element is lost. That's why people feel alienation. Alienation from oneself or one's potential in such situation. Workers also feels helpless that they even doubt their own existence. So work is not a choice but a compulsion. No control over thoughts. Alienation from his own thoughts. Okay. So please pardon me for my sore throat and I'm not feeling well. So let's continue. Leave that. So then we will see. We have seen alienation. We have seen its four dimension. And okay, one more thing in this a small topic: alienation of bourgeois. Okay. Mhm. So Marx said that bourgeois also feel alienated due to anarchy of market forces. He said, like bourgeois does not produce what he wants, what this class wants, or what he wants, or what is needed by others. But he produces those commodities which produce more profit. Okay, so he's enslaved by the market forces, and his enjoyment is more satisfaction of capital accumulation. So now Marx also talked about how this alienation can be overcome. So he said only with the establishment of communism. Okay, and he suggests some measures to reduce it. Okay, so what were those measures? He said conditions imposed in the work should be humanized. Labor time should be reduced so that the workers gets time to do what they wanted to do. Okay, now we have seen alienation. After this, we will see critique. Yes, see alienation. Karl Popper. He said alienation can be the breeding ground for creative ideas also. So this same point of view is also suggested by Merton. He also states that people may rebel or innovate if they feel alienated. Okay. He's like कहने का मतलब ये है कि भाई वो जब एलिनेशन फील करेंगे, जब वो उनको डिस्कनेक्टेड उनको फील होगा, तो वो कुछ इनोवेट कर सकते हैं उसमें, ओके, या फिर वो कुछ उसमें रिबेलियस भी कर सकते हैं. Durkheim कहते हैं anomy and alienation can be corrected by existing structures also. Okay, so no need to overhaul of system in forms of utopian communism. Goldthorpe and Lockwood, he their study is really important. He said work is just a means to end. Okay, that is better for the better standards of living. Workers are more concerned about what happens outside the factory that shapes their behavior and attitude more than the work itself. Okay. C.W. Mills, Study of Middle Class, White Collar, 1951. It's again very famous work. Not just the working class that suffers alienation, but also white collared staff face the alienation. Okay, he says that white collar staff brings the false personality at work, and men and women are prostituting their personalities in the pursuit of their personal gains. Okay, then Robert Blonner, he highlighted that the alienation depends on the technology used at work. In different industries, the use of different technologies. Okay, degree of alienation is also different. अलग अलग इंडस्ट्रीज में अलग अलग टेक्नोलॉजीज है, तो हर इंडस्ट्री में अलग अलग डिग्री का एलिनेशन है. मैक्स वेबर ने बोला ओवर ब्यूरोक्रेटाइजेशन ऑफ सोसाइटी लीड्स टू एलिनेशन एज मैन इज गाइडेड बाय फिक्स्ड रूल्स एंड हिज क्रिएटिविटी इज suffocated. Okay, after alienation we will see mode of production. Okay, we will see mode of production. Let us start mode of production. Basically, in the process of social production, which men carry on, they enter into relationships which are indispensable and independent of their will. Okay, their relations of productions correspond to a definite stage of development. Okay, their relations of productions, they correspond to a definite stage of development of material powers of production. So the sum total of these relation of production constitute to the economic structure of the society. Okay, so the the real foundation on which rises the legal and political structures, okay, which correspond to the definite form of social consciousness. Okay, whatever I have said, let me simplify it. See what he is saying. Every society, it has some infrastructure and some superstructure. Okay, there are some mode of production. I will explain it again. Just wait. Then there are some forces of production. There are some relations of production. And the superstructure part, there are some legal political structures, religion, social practices, literature, art, culture. Okay. Forces of production is composed of means of production and the labor. Okay. So means of production comprises tools and equipments, and this is labor one is human knowledge and skills. Okay. Relation of productions consist of social formations and contending classes. Okay. Mm, Let me just write it here. So what are these social formation and what are these contending classes? The slave owning society, master slave bond. Okay. Feudal society, lord and serf. Capitalist society, capitalist and workers. So what he was saying, he said that in a social production, which men carry on, they enter into some relations. Okay, they enter they enter into some relations. Okay, uh, which are indispensable and independent of their will. Obviously, this relation is independent of their will. Slave is who wanted to be a slave. Okay, so so their relation of productions, they correspond to a definite stage of development of material powers of production. Okay, so they consist of some material power of production, and some of these relation of productions constitute economic structure of the society. Okay, it constitutes the economic structure of the society, the real foundation on which rises the legal and political structure. Okay, uh, political superstructure which corresponds to a definite form of social consciousness. Okay, now I guess you are able to relate with this. The mode of production in material determines the general character of social, political, and the spiritual process of life. At a certain stage of development, these these material forces of production, they come into conflict with the existing one. The existing material forces of productions, they come into conflict with the existing one. So suppose from the say now in the slave owning society, say slaves revolted. Okay, so they come in conflict. Lords and serfs revolted. Then eventually capitalist society came in the picture. Okay, so basically this is what it's all about. So Marx says the distinct character of human is to produce and to satisfy their needs. Okay, labor is creative interchange between the man and his environment. Through the labor, man transforms the environment, but in the process, he also gets transformed. Okay, Marx called this idea the social of paraxis. As man gets transformed, this gives rise to the newer needs, so change in the fundamental character of human life. Marx says this change is dialectic in nature. Now, let us see how the Marx conceptualized six modes of production. Okay, let me see if mic is on or not. Yes, it's on. Yeah. So first one is primitive communism. Okay, where all people were equal. Okay, and everyone has equal access to forces of production because the society was hunting gathering time. Okay, so there was extremely low level of development, de facto equality in the society, abundance of food and low population, and the relations of productions, they are cooperative rather than dominating. Okay, so with the passage of time, invention of new tools, forces become more sophisticated, communal structure of the society, it started to break up. So new form of social organization emerged with the emergence of private property. Okay, so new mode of production came in the picture, negation of primitive communism, that is ancient slave mode of production. Now, in the ancient slave mode of production, some men had control over the skills and tools, others are subordinate to them. Slaves didn't have control over their labor as well. Population increased with the time, slaves pressurized to produce more, so it ultimately led to the increase in exploitation. Slaves revolted, new forces of production emerged in the form of agriculture and feudalism. Okay, so with the passage of time, forces of feudalistic mode of production came in picture, where land was the central economic activity. Okay, so here society divided into feudal lords and the landless serfs. Okay, so basically the one who had the control of lands and who were slaves, they become serfs. Okay, so they were basically free, but they were forced to work on the land of the feudal lords, and they had to pay tax and service also. So with the passage of time, again conditions matured. So again, serfs revolted, so new mode of production came in the picture in the form of capitalism, okay, or we often say current mode of production. So capital is central to production. Marx argued that the capital produces nothing, okay, labor produces the wealth, yet wages are paid too low, okay. So again, in the capitalist mode of production, society divided into two parts, in proletariats and in the bourgeois, that is non-owners and the owners, haves and have-nots. Okay, when the workers lose control over their labor as well as start feeling alienated, it led to conflict, contradiction between social character of production and private form of appropriation. Then Marx also predicted two futuristic mode of productions, that is socialistic and advanced. In socialistic mode of production, he said it is a transitory mode of production in which proletariat will topple bourgeois in revolution and control forces of production. Okay, so उसने बोला था एंड में सबको ऐसा रियलाइज होगा कि एंड टू रियलाइज द ट्रू पोटेंशियल ऑफ ऑल ह्यूमंस, और वो बहुत एडवांस्ड या कम्युनिस्ट टाइप ऑफ मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन आ जाएगा, ठीक है, जहाँ पे फोर्सेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन जो होंगे वो कम्युनली ओन्ड होंगे, कोई क्लास सोसाइटी नहीं होगी, एवरीवन विल कैरी हिज और हर ओन क्रिएटिव परस्यूट. Okay, now let us see its critique. Futuristic communist utopia. It's obviously these ideas are utopian because they never arrived in the even in the communist countries. Okay, proletariats never take leading role in the toppling capitalism. Instead, intellectuals have filled the void by coming forward for the cause of proletariats. Narrow empiricism and reductionist in his approach. Okay, he limited his analysis to the production and ignored other aspects related to the consumption. Okay, he ignored the feminist dimension of production. Patriarchy also seen as important factor in the growth of production. Okay. Now let us see historical materialism. So it is also known as Karl Marx theory of social change. Okay, basically, in his pursuance of an organized development of society, he adopted dialectics of Hegel, dialectic materialism, no? Dialectic idealism. Sorry, we have seen that, no? Hegel talked about dialectic idealism. Okay, but he rejected Hegel's view that it is ideas which are dialectic in nature. Okay, Hegel का view यही था ना, that it is ideas which are dialectic in nature. थीसिस आया, जो एक ट्रू फैक्ट है उसका एक ऑपोजिट फैक्ट आएगा, एंटीथीसिस, वो भी रियल ही होगा, वो भी ट्रू होगा, फिर ये दोनों कंबाइन होकर सिंथेसिस बनाएंगे, देन अगेन जो वो सिंथेसिस है ये वो थीसिस की तरह एक्ट करेगा. यही था ना हीगल का आइडिया. ओके, सो बट मार्क्स ने ये बोला कि जो आइडियाज वाला जो पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है दैट इज रॉन्ग. उसने बोला कि वो मटेरियल कंडीशंस हैं जो डायलेक्टिक्स में है, ठीक है. मार्क्स का जो थ्योरी ऑफ चेंज है उसने उसको हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियलिज्म बोला, ठीक. ही एंड ही नेवर यूज्ड दिस टर्म historical materialism. Instead what he used, materialistic interpretation of history. Okay, so Marx के according, man is engaged in the social production which needs cooperation, and this cooperative need forces them to enter into social relations independent of their will. Okay, so this social relation is dependent upon economy of society. Okay, so basically these relations. When the slave owning society, the master slave relationship. So why were they in relationship? Because of the economic conditions of the society. They were dependent on it. Okay. So the main mechanism of historical movement is contradiction within the infrastructure. Okay. So see, I have drawn this diagram here also. When the contradiction between the existing society occurred within the infrastructure, that is between the forces of production and the relations of production. Okay. So because forces of production essentially given societies capacity to produce, which is which is a function of scientific knowledge, technological equipment, and organization of collective labor, right? So जो relations of productions है ना, relation of production वो dichotomous होते हैं society में, ठीक है, in two classes. Suppose there is a C1 class and there is a C2 class. It is old and it is new. Okay, so uh, it is old source of energy. So here F1OP यानी कि force of production 1 exists, and here new force of production develops with the time. Okay, and they have developed some new sources, class 2. So they become incompatible. So when they become incompatible, uh, so conflict will happen. He called that period as revolutionary period because the new class will try to topple them. So he said it will lead to the change of mode of production and establishment of new social order, which is dominated by the progressive class of old social order. ठीक है? And he said with the change in the mode of production, which lies in the domain of infrastructure, superstructure is more or less changed. Okay, so he said history is a process of continuous creation, satisfaction, and recreation of human needs. He further said that theory of change, uh, uh, further जो ये मार्क्स का theory of change है, it says that the dialectics of forces of production, relations of product and relation of productions produces different modes of production. जो हमने अभी modes of production पढ़े हैं ना, ये this one. So ये कह रहा है कि जो मार्क्स की जो ये थ्योरी ऑफ चेंज है, हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियलिज्म है, वो बोल रहे हैं कि जो फोर्सेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शंस और रिलेशन ऑफ प्रोडक्शंस के बीच में जो डायलेक्टिक्स हैं, वो डिफरेंट मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन को प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? सो वो फिर वही चारों पांचों जितने भी मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है उनकी बात करेगा. अब ना एक छोटी सी चीज बता रही हूँ मैं यहाँ पे, एप्लीकेशन ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियलिज्म. बहुत हमारे लिए पेपर 2 के लिए काफी इम्पोर्टेंट है. ए आर देसाई का एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ राइज ऑफ नेशनलिज्म. ओके, सी अकॉर्डिंग टू ए आर देसाई, जो हमारा जो ग्रोथ ऑफ नेशनलिज्म है ना, is totally bound up with the growth of nationalism is totally bound up with the growth of unified national economy, okay, which took place as a result of destruction of former pre-capitalist mode of production and substitution in their place of modern capitalist economic form. AR Desai is a Marxist, so he is following this approach. जैसे इसने बोला कि भाई न्यू क्लास आई, उसने पुरानी को टॉपल कर दिया, तो इसने बोला कि भाई जो ये है, जो नेशनल इकोनॉमी का ग्रोथ है, अ, वो क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि फॉरवर्ड कैपिटलिस्ट मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन जो है उसका डिस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है, और उसकी जगह पे सब्सटीट्यूशन कौन कौन आ रहा है? उसकी जगह पे मॉडर्न कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमिक फॉर्म्स आ रहे हैं. फर्दर इसने ये चीज भी बोली कि जो striking thing about the Indian nationalism is that it emerged under the conditions of political subjections of Indian people by British. Okay, the advanced British nation, for its own purpose, they radically changed the economic structure of Indian society. They established a centralized state, introduced modern education, modern means of transport and communication. So all this resulted in the emergence of new class, and these social classes uh, by their very nature came into the conflict with the British imperialism, and become the basis for the rise of development of Indian nationalism. So basically ए आर देसाई का जो नेशनलिज्म का कंसेप्ट है, ये टोटली हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियलिज्म का एप्लीकेशन है. यहाँ पे इसको बताने का पर्पस यही था, ठीक है? So see, this can be used as a conclusion in the answer. So let us see the critique of historical materialism. Karl Popper, he criticized Marx as being reductionist. For overemphasizing on material factors reduces the importance of all other factors, and he just merely focuses on economic factors. So that's why he called him economic reductionism. Called it economic reductionism. So Max Weber appreciated the works of Marx that by change in infrastructure brought the change in superstructure, but there is possibility that even change in superstructure would bring the change in infrastructure. ठीक है, मार्क्स कह रहा था ना कि भाई इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में चेंज होगा तो सुपरस्ट्रक्चर में चेंज आएगा, बट ये कहता है कि ये भी पॉसिबिलिटी है ना, सुपरस्ट्रक्चर में चेंज होगा तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में चेंज आ जाए. प्रोटेस्टेंट एथिक्स. गुनार मिडाल. State and its policies are important vector for change, and because of state intervention, change in infrastructure होगा. Okay. Milovan he criticized Marx as utopian thinker because जो communist society Marx ने predict की है वो कभी आई ही नहीं. Conflict is attributed to relations with economic infrastructure, but Derrida says differential authority structure is the root cause of conflict. Okay. Now let us see the class struggle. Again, it is the application of historical materialism. So, uh, class is used by Marx as a conceptual tool. Okay, class as a conceptual tool. Okay, for explaining intergroup dynamics and change in dynamics leading to change in society. Okay, for him, class is a group of people who share the same position in the process of production, and the relationship between the classes is of antagonism and conflict. Okay, throughout the history, opposing classes have stood in constant opposition to one another, carried on uninterrupted fight that each time ended either in a revolutionary reconstruction of society at large or in the common ruin of contending class. Okay, so this Marx used the concept of class in two sense. One is sociological use, other usage, and other one is the descriptive one. So in the sociological uses, he helps to explain the conflict and the change in the society. And that's why Karl Marx restricted himself to two classes, conservative and the progressive. Conservative class will obviously restrict the change. So ये कौन होंगे? Ruling class होगी. Progressive one will, they want the change. So who are they? Subject class. Okay, in the descriptive usage, using class for identifying different categories strata in the society. For example, in his pamphlet Revolution and the Counter Revolution in Germany, Marx divided into seven classes. जर्मनी को उसने सेवन क्लासेस में डिवाइड करा, फ्रांस को उसने सिक्स क्लासेस में डिवाइड करा. ओके, so this class divisions result from the different relations of members of society to the means of production. The structure of all societies may be represented in the terms of simplified two-class model. Okay, ruling class exploits the subject class. Okay, so ruling class कौन है? जो dominant है, powerful है, control है जिनका means of production पे, appropriates large part of wealth. Okay, subject class, they lack ownership, they lack control over the means of production, they performs productive labor. Okay, so basically Marx saw capitalism as characterized by central struggle between the two classes, bourgeois and proletariats. Okay, अब उसने बोला, अब बात हो रही है कि how these two-fold divisions of bourgeois and proletariats developed. So in primitive society, there was simple technology, no surplus generated, no institution of private property. People lived as parasite. Okay, they just had to eat. मतलब वो बस खा रहे थे, जो उग रहा था वो खा रहे थे. No class division, all people related to similar forces of production. But with the passage of time and with the advancement of technology, forces of production developed. Okay, men control over nature increased, surplus increased, on private property ownerships came in picture. Forces of production came to be primary owned and controlled. So from here, ruling classes and subject classes came in picture. Okay, so class divisions are maintained by extraction of surplus, and interest of these classes tend to be opposing mutually. Okay, when deprived classes become subjectively aware of objective reality, then the conflict or the class struggle results. So basically, it is class consciousness. Okay, so it is a radical change in the structure of society which occurs when a class is transformed from class in itself to class itself. Okay, now what is class in itself and class for itself? Class in itself refers to the members of society who share the same objective relationship to the means of production. For example, wage laborers. and the members of proletariat forms the class in itself. When they become fully conscious of true nature of their situation, their common interest and their common enemy, then they become the class for itself. Like then the conflict came into the action. So when suppose when the society was feudalistic, the conflict between the nobility and bourgeois happened. So communism will come in picture. ऐसा कुछ. So when the existing class is stronger than the newly emerging class, conflict or change erupted. तो इसका बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल है फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन. Okay. Mm. Now let me tell you this. Hmm. See, primary interest of Karl Marx is capitalist society. ठीक है. So he believed that it is bound to happen as that change in capitalist society is bound to happen as the capitalism will advance. ठीक है. Why the working class will transfer into class for itself. ठीक है. Capitalism is a system which is geared towards the continuous surplus, okay, and therefore certain processes are inevitable to happen, okay. So he says he talked about the pauperization of working class, how it will happen. He says जैसे जैसे capitalism advance होगा, there will be competition among the capitalists to earn more profit for market. Okay, so as a result, they will reduce the prices to increase the sale, right? When okay. So obviously, ultimately, it will lead to the lead to the monopoly. मतलब it will lead to the monopoly, right? Monopoly. So monopoly capitalism आ जाएगा picture में. So because those who can't increase their capital, or one who can't fight in the market, it's like big fish eating small fish. Okay, just it's a perfect example will be Reliance. Okay, Geo. Okay. So, ultimately in pauperization, big players will dominate. Okay. So, workers will become progressively poor in pauperization. Okay. So after this, Marx also said that there will be polarization in the society. Okay. Uh, Basically segregation in the society. Petty bourgeois can't compete with the big bourgeois, so sooner or later they will join the proletariats. Okay, this sooner the society will project into two camps. So इसको इसने polarization कहा, class polarization. Okay, and he says working class proletariats will become more and more homogeneous under one roof. That is same conditions, same machinery. So इसने कहा homogenization भी होगा. Okay. फिर उसके बाद वही सब्जेक्टिव अवेयरनेस आएगी वर्कर्स में, वो क्लास फॉर इटसेल्फ में चेंज होंगे, कन्फ्लिक्ट आएगी, रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी होगा. ओके. सो बेसिकली अकॉर्डिंग टू मार्क्स दैट दीज थ्री थीसिस आर विल बी इनएविटेबल जैसे जैसे कैपिटलिज्म एडवांस करेगा. ठीक है. सो आफ्टर दिस वही जैसे उसको ऐसा लगता था कि क्लास जब प्रोलेटारिएट्स जो है उनमें कॉन्शियसनेस डेवलप होगी, वो क्लास फॉर इटसेल्फ बनेंगे, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होगा. ठीक है. तो उस जब वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होगा तो जो ये है वर्किंग क्लास है या प्रोलेटारिएट्स हैं, ये इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी को एबॉलिश कर देंगे, क्लासलेस सोसाइटी इमर्ज में आएगी जहाँ पे कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स नहीं होंगे. ठीक है. और इतना एक्सट्रीम तक बोल दिया था दैट ही इवन सेड दैट इवन द आइडिया ऑफ नेशन विल फेड अवे. ओके. सो अब इसका क्रिटिक भी आएगा. So, communism is a futuristic concept failed to take shape. Industrial capitalism has grown stronger, obviously. Socialist experiment failed worldwide. Communist is still a utopian concept. Okay. Frank Parkin, he even says that classes even exist in socialist countries. Okay. Contrary to Marxian prediction that class struggle will intensify, it has moderated in most of the European countries. Okay. Which is an epitome of capitalism. Workers become affluent and now have a stake in capitalist economy. Weber agrees that economic inequality leads to conflict. Okay, he disagrees with the definition of class. Weber says class consists of people who share the similar market situation. Further, he says there is no polarization, rather, there is a pluralization of classes. Okay, there is no chance that there will be homogenization. Okay, as known honors will be skilled, semi-skilled with okay and unskilled. So with the expansion of the middle class and the skilled workers, salaries will increase. So there will be no pauperization also. Okay, Kerr and Bernard, they said in advanced industrial society, white collar workers are rising, so embourgeoisment of working class might happen. Darendorf, manual working class has become increasingly heterogeneous. There is very little chance of uniting for revolution. So basically, this is the Marx, and we are done with it. See you tomorrow. I will try to upload Weber by tomorrow. So you can also, for more sociological analysis of the current scenarios or the contemporary topics, you can follow our blog. Uh, this is brainstormingsociology.wordpress.com, and when you'll open it, you'll find various topics. See formal and informal work analysis, okay, crisis of development in depth, and poverty, uniform civil code. So these all are the topics which were in the news. You can refer to it. You can also subscribe to our channel, and you can, for any queries, you can connect with us on the Telegram. So that's it for the today. Thank you.